All right, so it's time. So we'll be slowly starting the webinar today. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for taking their time. Either it's an evening in your time zone or it's a morning for some. Great welcome from Cronofy. I will start with a brief introduction of who I am. And I'm Nataliia. I'm a senior product manager here at Cronofy. We have a good mix of participants at the moment where some of them are existing customers, some of them are just getting to know Cronofy. So before we jump into the agenda for the session, I just would like to do a quick recap of also who is Cronofy and why should you care. And let me just switch the slides. So who are Cronofy? So for over 10 years, we've been powering scheduling by being the leading infrastructure provider across the internet. So we power scheduling across more than 100 applications. Some of the logos you may recognize, and they all use Cronofy API product to introduce scheduling into their product. Among that, we also work with over 70 ATS providers to also power scheduling there. Again, some of the companies you probably have been familiar to, more of them with others. And a couple of years ago, we also then enabled you directly as recruiting teams, then also leverage Cronofy from within your ATS and schedule with Cronofy directly. Cronofy integrates with leading ATSs, such as Smart Recruiters, Greenhouse, Lever, SuccessFactors, and Bamboo HR, and you can schedule with Cronofy from the very, very familiar ATS environment to you. Now, how about today's session? What you will learn today is how to use the new features that we've developed over the last couple of months to schedule better, more efficiently, with more ease, with less errors, by using Cronofy. Among that, 3 topics I will cover. So the topic number 1 will be how to make last-minute changes to scheduled events with Cronofy. Then how to send separate information to the candidate and to the hiring teams while creating a single request. And then how to better and more efficiently leverage ATS information in interview invites by also making it more bulletproof and less error-prone. And in the end of it, we'll have a Q&A session where you can ask all of your questions. Either it's about what I've just presented to you today or any other questions around Cronofy, and my colleague Ilya will also join to answer some of those questions as well. So let's get going. To begin with, I would like to talk about editing events with Cronofy. That's a feature we've been recently introducing, and that's something we've also constantly evolving and working on. To begin with, just why should it be relevant for you to edit events with Cronofy? Imagine yourself in a scenario where you've already scheduled an interview with a candidate, and then there's like a last-minute internal change. A hiring manager needs to move it to another day due to a new occurring blocker, or needs to push back an interview by half an hour. As a recruiter, you are not a part of that interview, so you're also not a part of a calendar invite. The change needs to happen relatively quickly, and you need to also keep in touch and streamline this information to the candidate straight away. How do you solve for it with Cronofy? So I will be now jumping into the application. I just want to reiterate that everything that you see on my screen, even if I do it from an app, it's still the same that is available also with a familiar to you extension that you are using, or for the case of Bamboo HR, for example, like an embedded screen as well. So for now, we are going to the requests page where you can see an overview of all of your requests. And for example, here I'm then now finding the request for scheduling a panel interview with a company called Venitron. This is our demo environment. This is also our demo company. And let's say I need to push back this interview to another day. So what do? I find an edit button here now. And we are going in an edit mode. There are various things that you can edit here, but I will start with the time. So for the scenario that I've just described, that you need to push back the meeting, basically what would you do is that you would go and select a new date. So say, for example, you know from previous conversations with the hiring manager that then, okay, Friday morning will work for them. So this is where we are moving the interview. So let's say to 10 a.m. You can see also the Berlin time zone. And that would be pretty much it. While doing this change, we won't be then considering the limits. We won't be able, so you may override, which is a good scenario for like a short time change. If you have a pre-agreement also with your hiring team, how it should change. This is not the only thing that you can actually change on this page. It's also evolving as we speak. So for example, if you need to adjust anything in the title of a calendar invitation, or you need to add something to a description, you are also able to do it here. Just pop your changes. For example, I need to add link here. And then as soon as you're done editing the fields that you need to edit, then you need to click on the save the changes, and you will see the changes in the calendars. So I will just demonstrate it in a second. Before I'm jumping into it, also another thing that is coming, it's not available for all the users just yet, is that going forward you will be also on this page able to edit the host. So let's say an interviewer can't make an interview anymore, you need to reschedule, and also you need to change who will be leading the interview, then you will be also able to do it from this page as well. But for now, we just changed the time and we changed the description. So the new time is on the 13th. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead, just save the changes. You can see the confirmation that the changes have been saved successfully, but you will be then also seeing the event in the calendar in a new place as well. So every change that you make, you will then also be able to put in a calendar, and it will happen all automatically, and it will synchronize with Cronofy. And a highlight here is that as a recruiter, you can schedule, but you don't then need to be a part of the event to really make any changes to it. So you can just do it from Cronofy, and you can orchestrate it from within the Cronofy. The next feature that I want to talk about is sending separate invites. In which situation it will become as a relevant scenario for you. So imagine, for example, you want to elevate the candidate experience and you want to share with them preparation materials in advance. Or, for example, you want to explain what is this interview stage really about and how to prepare for it better. You might want to pop it into the description of the calendar invite so that they have it at hand when they are joining. At the same time, this is not something that is the most relevant for your hiring teams, but there will be other information that will be relevant for your hiring teams. So for example, what are the evaluation criteria, or where to go to find an interview kit after the interview. So you might want to share it with them in the calendar invite, but this won't be something that necessarily your candidate needs to know. At the same time, also, like, there is an issue of privacy. So for example, what if you don't want any communication to happen outside of your hiring process between the hiring panel and the candidate as well? So for those kinds of scenarios, if this is what you're facing and this is what you want to achieve, then you will be using separate invites with Cronofy, and I'm going to show you how to do it right now. So in order to then send out separate invites, you will need to go and create a new request. So I assume I'm scheduling right now this scenario on behalf of for myself, and then we will have an invitee rows. So far everything looks familiar. How to add the separate invite. So I'm going into the edit mode here, and then I'm toggling on send separate invite. What has happened now is that you see now 2 tabs instead of 1. What this will allow you to do is that to specify different event details for internal invite, so for your hiring team, and then for external invite for your candidate. So you will go and, for example, specify that this is internal title and this is an L3 software engineer interview. So something that will be, for example, not necessarily relevant for your candidate, and then you will write here, I don't know, interview criteria. So and so on and so forth, like you get the feel for it. But for example here, then you can mention, okay, final interview, software engineer at event, and then you are like, this is how to prepare for an interview. So you can see that you can brand information totally differently for candidate and for hiring teams, and then everything else will go pretty much as you are already used to. Yeah, we are going ahead. We are creating the request. Then now we are going to copy the link. I will just demonstrate the process of how it's happening with the calendars, with the calendar invites as well. So we choose the date. Let's say I'm choosing Tuesday the 10th, and then it will be 1 p.m. Okay, now we have it scheduled. I'm just gonna wait it a little bit so that it managed to also sync with the calendars as well. Meanwhile, you can go to the request page. You can also then see that you can track from here as well what have been the event details for each. So it also indicates this is what your candidate will see in the calendar, then this is what other attendees internally will see in the calendar. And now we have our internal title for Nataliia. Nataliia, reminding, has been an interviewer in the scheduling request. And then when we go to rows, you will have a different calendar invite here with different details as well. The next thing I want to cover here is the scenario where you want to leverage ATS placeholders. So most of you are scheduling from within your ATS, and then there is an abundance of information that is stored there: candidate name, role name, stage name. You then might want to reference it to give other people access to the interview kit, etc. But what you don't want to happen is you don't want to retype this information every time from an ATS. And ideally, you might want to leverage then a placeholder in the description that then automatically pre-populates the correct data from the ATS of your choice. So for that, you will be then wanting to use the ATS placeholders when creating a request in an event description. I will be showing it from Smart Recruiters, but it's also available for Greenhouse and Lever users as well. So we see we are now in Smart Recruiters. We are popping the extension, and we are creating a new request. So we already see that we have Julia here as an invitee. So we already sync it up with the page that we're on. And now we can go and indicate what are we scheduling. So for now, we are going, for example, the scenario of like, okay, this is a hiring manager interview with Nataliia. And now we can scroll back to the description and we see the function insert placeholders. So this is available to you in two ways. It's either through a keyboard shortcut, or then you can simply click here and you can see what are the placeholders that are available. So imagine you'll be using it something like, hi, and then you use the candidate name. And then you indicate other details. For example, you are invited for the next stage. So you are invited to, then we will use another placeholder, which will indicate what is the interview type for this kind of a role, and so on and so forth. So after you're done, we are going the familiar route. So we are creating the invite link and we are then forwarding it to the candidate to then give the ability to self-schedule. Where it will be also useful is that next time you want to create a request from the recent request, there will be placeholders there and you won't need to retype the name of the candidate from scratch there. So now I'm going to go ahead. Now I'm going to create an invite link. Copy it. And then, yeah, have to wait it out a little bit, just not to do it too quickly. Yeah, so we see it currently like as a pending unscheduled request as well. And as soon as it's scheduled, then we will be able to then also see the new details. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's schedule this interview round. So let's say I'm scheduling it for 9 a.m. on the 11th. And then we see here that in the description, we have the actual name that was in the ATS and Smart Recruiters. And we also see that they've been invited to an informal interview for an account manager role. So this is essentially, in a nutshell, how the placeholders will work. And then it will also give you a possibility to use the event descriptions tailored to the candidate, but at the same time having it error prone as well. And if we go, just reminding myself for when we have scheduled this for 11th of December. Yeah, so we also see the pre-populated placeholders here as well in the calendar invite. So essentially this is how it will look for everybody in their calendars. And with that, we are covering all of the updates that we wanted to cover today, and we will be moving to whether anybody has any questions, and either me or Ilya will be happy to address those. Can I add any of these features into my template? So as for the, at the moment, no. So neither separate invites or nor placeholders are supported by the templates. That's something that we'll be working on adding as well. At the moment, you can leverage them if you use the copy from recent request. All right, Ilya, do you want to unmute yourself? I see you typing the answer.
Yes, sorry. I forgot I can also unmute myself. No, I was also curious to hear a bit more about the question. In principle, what happens is that when you're in Smart Recruiters, if the integration is set up authorized with Cronofy, then when you open up the Cronofy extension on the candidate page, then we automatically pick up the information. And then we know for which candidates and for which application to which role it is. And based on that, once it's scheduled, we will push it back onto the candidate page once they pick a time.
Okay. I see another question, whether interview gets written to Smart Recruiter so that it shows in the interview tab. Could we see what it looks like? Yeah, okay.
Go to interviews, there's a couple that we have created in the past already. They are now under completed, but this is basically what it would look like.
Does it answer the question?
And I think if you go maybe to the one below, let's see if that's a different type of interview. If you've unwrap October 23rd, for example.
Yeah.
Then you will be able to see if there's different ones that took place. They should all be registered on the page.
Okay, it does answer the question. Great. All right, there are no more questions coming in. So I want to thank everybody for their time and for their attention. And if you have any questions regarding any of the features, please feel free to reach out to us via support@cronofy.com, or we are your account manager, and we'll be happily also then supporting you in making sure that you are able to leverage any of this to your hiring processes. Thank you very much.